Well, I wasn't expecting to do this, but I felt I needed to. Nando V Movies and a bunch of other excellent video essayists have made a video for OneXCellentScene. One scene from any X-Men piece of media that personally left an impact. And while most decided to do scenes from the movies or the comics, I want to give personal attention to the cartoons. Specifically, this one. This cartoon is my favourite piece of X-Men media outside the comics, and in my opinion is the definitive take on these characters. It greatly saddens me that we will never get to see that 5th season, in where the X-Men would grow to adulthood, face a version of Dark Phoenix, invite Colossus, give Rogue the Miss Captain Marvel powers, and have Magneto and Laura join the team. There are a few scenes I could have gone with. The season 4 episode Uprising, where you see Duncan Matthews' hatred for mutants and just how far it's taken him. The season 2 episode Operation Rebirth, in which Captain America and James Hallett save a young Eric Lensher, only for him to later use the method Captain America used to get his powers to elongate his life, leaving an interesting moral quandary of whether someone like Magneto deserves to live. Or was the heartbreaking end where Wolverine goes to see Cap frozen and we get to see the humanity behind the face Wolverine puts on? However, the scene in particular I want to talk about is from Season 3, Episode 3, Mainstream. But first, I need to put this episode into a context, because it is from a TV show with an ongoing story. This show is a unique X-Men series, as most of the core team are still teens going to high school, dating, going to parties, etc. The team consistency is not the typical first class, but closer to the Claremont run with Kitty, Nightcrawler and Rogue. Over the previous 2 seasons, our list of mutants has been slowly growing and expanding. Keeping the knowledge of mutants in secrecy is getting harder and harder, and slowly word of mutants has been slipping out over the news. By the end of Season 2, the X-Mansion was destroyed. Mystique, with a long series of plans, publicly outed all the mutants, and their first appearance in the media wasn't all too flattering. Mutant hatred is at a fever pitch. After 2 seasons, we finally get the public hatred segregation metaphor of the comics. Everything built to this moment. In this episode, the students can finally go back to school. However, with the X-Men outed, most of the other students want nothing to do with them. They are segregated from doing sports because they could be cheating with powers. Jean's douche boyfriend sees her mutanthood as an advantage and a way to cheat on tests, thereby treating her as an object. Using his image inducer, Nightcrawler is still too afraid of being outed and continues to hide to the dismay of his fellow mutants. The X-Men are beaten by bullies, and the Brotherhood aren't making it any easier for the few just trying to get by. The scene in particular I want to talk about though is Jean Grey's speech, the ending of the episode. Brotherhood of Mutants and Duncan Matthews, the human jock character exclusive to this show, fight the X-Men outside while Jean makes an impassioned speech about equality and civil rights. All the while, the X-Men are beaten, attacked and battered, only to finally use their abilities when people really start to be in trouble, due to the Brotherhood's attacks. This moment is all the more effective due to context. You've seen the previous 2 years of these mutants while in hiding, and know Duncan Matthews personally, as he dates Jean and has this rivaling relationship with Scott. So seeing him turn, though expected, hurts because he may not have been a friend, but was one of the few links to non-mutant society. And in Duncan attacking the mutants, it's proof they are truly removed from that world and will never again fit in with those outside the Xavier Institute. By seeing the previous 2 years, we also see what their life was like before them being outed, and can contrast the difference between the two. We can understand the deep levels of loss they must feel, knowing that they will never again fit in. And by the actions of the Brotherhood, it perfectly establishes the difference between the two ideologies. The Brotherhood use their mutant abilities to spread fear and dominate others, using their abilities in battle because they have the power to. Because they're now outed, their want to restrain themselves has been lifted. In previous seasons, they knew using their powers meant both teams would face the same consequences, but now the cat's out of the bag and you might as well run with it. In only a few minutes, this scene captures the heart of the X-Men and distills it closer than the 90s cartoon before it. As, in the 90s show, the anti-mutant hate mob was simply that, a mob. A group with only a few named characters, but mostly deformed to one face with a crowd following, while never understanding the individuals or the reasons for their hatred, simply that they hate. While X-Men Evolution puts faces to that hatred, makes you almost care about those who hate, and though they may not ever be on your side, makes you aware that their right to live is just as important as yours. Yeah, they suck, but it feels more personal because you got to know them before everything went down. With Professor X's last words,
I'm always astonished at the wondrous things that can be built on the ashes of tragedy. For even in the face of bigotry and discrimination, the X-Men will endure.
This ending is the coalescence of what the X-Men should stand for. A group persecuted and hated who will stand to save their detractors because it's the right thing to do. A group who stand together in one voice and say, we deserve rights. Though they may not be loved by the media, they all stand together and work for a better future, because they deserve to live as much as anyone else in the world. They take their hits and hurt as few as possible. And in our current world, standing together for civil rights is all the more important, and the message of this episode speaks that much louder, because much like the X-Men, people need a community. A group who can stand together for what's right and say their life matters. A group who can support and stand up for each other when they need help and fend off those who wish to discriminate. A group who, even in the face of bigotry and discrimination, will endure. So please, somebody, watch this cartoon. I swear, it's just as good if not better than the 90s X-Men. It's a differing take, but it's a worthwhile watch, and captures the essence of what I love about the X-Men. It's also one of the only times the New Mutants have made their way out of the comics, that is, the origin for my girl X-23. And with that, my friends, our little introspect into X-Men Evolution has come to an end. I highly suggest checking the playlist and watching the other videos in the OneXCellent Scene series. And with that, I bid you adieu. Have a good day. Be nice.